tax cut they passed would unleash unprecedented economic growth, raise wages, and boost jobs. But already we have evidence that big corporations are not turning the tax cut into jobs for the middle class. There was a lot of hoopla when AT&T said they'd have bonuses. You know what they did at the same time? They announced plans to fire more than 1,000 workers starting early this year, despite the tax cut. Macy's announced that it would be cutting 5,000 jobs, despite the tax bill. Kimberly-Clark plans to cut up to 5,500 jobs and close or sell about 10 plants, saying the savings from the tax bill gave them flexibility to make these reductions. President Trump going to claim credit for that one? Carrier, a company the president promised to save, continues to bleed jobs. They're a metaphor. A lot of nice announcements, a lot of bits of glitz, but actually the condition of the American worker is getting no better and often many times worse. And meanwhile, what are most companies doing, so many of them, with these big tax breaks, these massive tax breaks they got? They're announcing stock buybacks. That benefits the CEO. It raises their stocks and doesn't help anybody else. MasterCard, $4 billion. Bank of America, $5 billion. Pfizer, $10 billion. Wells Fargo, $22 billion. Many, many more. $100 billion have been announced in stock buybacks since the Senate passed its tax bill. When the American people learn that some of them are not getting anything, some of them getting raises, and the rest are getting crumbs, and big corporations and wealthy individuals are getting nice fat pieces of pie, they're going to be outraged. They are already. Now, my friend, the majority leader, won't come to the floor and brag about the stock buybacks. He will, however, announce when a company gives a bonus to its worker. Let's hear both sides and let the American people judge. The bonuses are a good thing, but the truth is these one-time bonuses are a drop in the bucket compared to what corporations could be doing for their workers. And by the way, not only were these buybacks, let me announce just a few other things these corporations did after the tax breaks they got. When Bank of America announced $5 billion in stock buybacks, they also announced they start charging low-income customers for free checking. When Pfizer announced its $10 billion buyback, it said it would no longer research for Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, laying off 300 people. Wells Fargo announced $22 billion in stock buybacks, helping their wealthy shareholders. At the same time, it's closing 800 branches. Here's a paragraph from yesterday's New York Times. Quote, Bank of America's bonuses will cost the bank $145 million in 2018, or about 5% of the nearly $2.7 billion in savings it's expected to reap in 2018 from a lowered 21% rate. Apple's bonuses will cost $300 million, a fraction of the $40 billion at least that the tech giant is saving from a single provision in the law, which allows it to return earnings held overseas at less than half the rate it would have paid under the old system. And 2 days before Walmart snagged glowing headlines for handing out $400 million in bonuses and lifting its minimum wage at a cost of $300 million, the nation's largest retailer by sales unveiled a plan to buy back issued debt, $4 billion. Minimum wage, they pay $300 million. Stock buyback, $4 billion. Mr. President, I'm glad these workers are getting bonuses. They deserve them. But it seems that recently these bonuses are token efforts to give corporate executives something to point to while they reap huge benefits for themselves and their shareholders. A CNBC survey found, quote, cuts in corporate taxes haven't yet had a meaningful impact on American companies' plans to boost investment or raise workers' pay. That's CNBC. Yep, we could have imagined a tax reform that was deficit neutral, that closed loopholes while lowering rates, that lowered corporate taxes but actually stipulated that the money be put into wage increases and new jobs instead of what many companies are doing now, one-time bonuses, and massive stock repurchasing programs. Many middle-class families have waited so long for better wages and more jobs. A tax bill properly constructed could have helped deliver that to them. Instead, Republicans squandered their once-in-a-generation opportunity on an extraordinary tax break for big corporations and the already wealthy, and were